We will do a case study because
Okay.
we can't include. What I will do is I will give you the case study today and to
Right.
discuss the presentation. So everybody has to prepare a presentation at 11 o'clock. And then I will show you what is the right method to calculate if team could not do it properly.
Okay.
Uh, Welcome, Gaurang. So let's start the session today, and the very important session of all six modules. Sixth module, of course, is the testing of yours, as well as concluding session. But before fifth, this is the most important session. So you have learned till date how to do carbon accounting. We have also learned the climate basics. Then we have understood what are the different international agreements which make it binding to calculate carbon accurately. And then we have gone and looked into national determined contribution NDCs, which is a part of those international agreements. After that, we have gone and looked into how the NDC drives the momentum in GHG inventory, why anybody should calculate GHG, etc. And then we have moved to a GHG protocol and as well as ISO 14064 framework. We did a comparison. We also learned the other national, important national, carbon accounting systems like EPA, GHG, GRP program, EU ETS program, and India CEC induced program, right? And then we have gone into comparing this GHG protocol versus ISO protocol. ISO 14064. We also looked into ISO environmental management related all the frameworks which are available, and we saw what are the differences between those. And then we stopped ISO discussion and we went into GHG protocol learnings. We have introduced to you ESG Pro Mastery 5-step model, which is a industry agnostic carbon accounting model, which of course is totally based on GHG protocol. You guys also read 180 pages of that document. We did a summary of the same, and then we started looking into inventory boundary. The 5 step starts with setting the boundary, right? So we looked into organization and operational boundary. Then we have gone inside and learned about how to calculate organization boundary and how to calculate operational boundary. We looked into some case studies. And then we shifted our gears and looked into the second step, which was identifying the framework, right framework. We looked at the timeliness and the framework understanding so that you can identify a suitable framework matching your industry. Thereafter, we have gone into third step, which was identifying the source, activity source, because that source is critical and that data is very critical to understand what kind of data you are having and how you should convert that into a proper format so that emission factors like in DEFRA, which is available, which we saw yesterday and we shared with you as well, DEFRA is standard, as well as EPA, double EIO, input output environmental emission data from United States Environmental Protection Agency, as well as CEC data. So how to first get the data activity source data on step 3 so that step 4 becomes easier. And step 4, we did the calculation where we found out the right calculation data, specifically for scope 1 and 2 first, and then we went into even scope 3. And the final step is, of course, reporting and verifying, which is also a critical step. Then we have changed our gear and went completely into scope 3. First, we understood that what are the basic fundamentals around scope 3, why it is difficult, why it is important, and how that differentiates between scope 1 and 2. This is also indirect emission, but what makes it unique and how to approach it. After learning the fundamentals in scope 3, we looked into scope 3 upstream and downstream categories and what are the different methods are available so that we can calculate it accurately. Once we have completed scope 1 and 2, today we are going to start with, uh, okay, we have numbers. We know how much my company is emitting based on ESG Pro 5-step model, how to now mitigate it, right? So that I can achieve my targets which are required under any international agreement, which we have learned in first two modules. So that's today's session all about. We have four specific outcome goals here. You will gain an insight on different GHG mitigation principles which you should be using going forward. Then sector specific strategy. There are sector specific strategy which we will be learning. And of course, tomorrow when we will start module 5, we will be talking about carbon markets, cap and trade model, practical implementation of carbon markets and carbon offsetting. What are the different parameters there? That's how we will complete tomorrow session 5, and then there will be session 6, which we are planning to do it on Monday 6 o'clock. We will start little early so that we will do the summaries just like we did now, and we will also go ahead and do case study presentation as well as your test of 60 minutes, which will be live. Today, four outcome which you will receive from this session coverage. First is, of course, definition and importance of GHG mitigation, why anybody should even consider it. Then we will look into what are the principles available at disposal under GHG protocol and how we can apply GHG mitigation strategy. I believe McKinsey was not shared, which I will share as a post because already there were too many case studies shared. So we'll try to cover at least one case study today. But I expect tomorrow when you come for a presentation 11 o'clock in daytime, and this is the totally voluntary session. Tomorrow we are conducting at 11 o'clock, where you will present a case study computing scope 1, 2, and 3. And if you are stuck, I will help you with the ideal example that how you should calculate it. And then we will also go into two additional case study, which I will not cover today, which is Germany Arendelle, energy management company, and Toyota, Toyota, what mitigation factors they are implementing. We will also try to cover today sector specific roadmaps and carbon market roadmaps, which will be part of module 5. Let's start with definition and importance of GHG. So look, GHG mitigation, you have to understand that everybody emits a carbon dioxide based on our, consumption pattern or our corporate operations. So greenhouse gas mitigation refers to all those strategies as well as action points. So first you have to develop a strategy and then you have to have action points which you take to reduce or prevent the emission of greenhouse gases in atmosphere. I will repeat the definitions once more. So GHG mitigation refers to those strategy and actions which you take or your company takes or your country takes to reduce and prevent both. You are not only doing the reduction, but also preventing it. And here I'm not talking about adoption. This is mitigation. So mitigation is totally different than adoption, which is a climate change adoption and climate mitigation. I'm just talking about climate mitigation, and that too here very a pointy mitigation action, which is on scope 1, 2, and 3, because now we have learned scope 1 and 2 and 3. Not we are talking about climate change, which was the day one course. Now we know exactly what is the format of that climate change I am impacting to the climate, or what are the climate impacts I am doing, in which format, which I am directly responsible to, which I am indirectly responsible to, and how in both area I can put implementation factors. Why it is important? Of course, this chapter links you to give a visualization that first of all, first chapter gives you that visualization, any activity you do, because we have gone into technology in such a way that it emits carbon dioxide and impacts the climate. We have learned that, right? That 6 gases initially and then now 7 gases, which are critical, which gets emitted into the atmosphere, and that warms the heat, warms the earth or planet, which is not good for us. And we have seen the evidences too. So that is why mitigation is very important to reduce the impact of that climate change, such as extreme weather, which you are facing. And in double materiality, you know that whatever you do to the environment gives you back, right? So it is your responsibility, even though you might not be making a huge dent in the climate change, but your responsibility is to you go to your emission to zero. It's your responsibility. Okay. So such as extreme weather events, etc., rising sea level, which we have seen with example in the lesson number 1, we are trying to cover it here that I do not want to do as a company. I am a responsible company. So I will never do that. Second is
Sir,
economic.
sir, just a small question.
Yes,
Mitigation is different from set off, right? Or it includes set off?
it includes set off. It
Okay.
includes set off. We are talking about offsets, right? Carbon offsets, which is a
Yes, sir.
climate credit. It includes. Only adoption is when you do not do anything about it, and what you do, you consider that fact and find a way around it. Then it is a adoption. Here we are talking about carbon neutrality or carbon net zero. That is a target which you will have as a goal. Look, a strategy you develop when you have a goal, right? So today our duty will be, and tomorrow case study, your duty will be, first case study will be 11 o'clock, which will be only on the scope calculation because few people requested that. We will have it tomorrow. The second case study, which we will have, where you need to develop, and this I'm expecting definitely on module 6, you need to present that how in a certain scenario you will do mitigation factors so that your net zero emission is achieved. Okay, and I will give you that pathway as well. Let's complete today economic benefit, which is another benefit, which is the second quadrant of GHG mitigation, which sets the importance, is which encourages innovation, can lead to job creation and green technology sector. So there is a new economy is getting created because of this GHG mitigation, right? The climate tech industry itself is nothing but GHG mitigation. Yesterday we cited an example of Google, right? How many of you read that news? Anyone who tried to read it?
That's a,
The purchase of from Varha, at $100.
directly purchasing from farmers, I think,
Yeah.
carbon credits.
Okay. So it is from Varaha, which is a biochar company, which is creating carbon credits for Google now, going for next 5 years. So that was one example where there is a completely new economy has been developed, right? And that benefit because new jobs, new lifestyle, new salary cycle, which encourages people to go towards GHG mitigation sector. Okay, so it's no longer a cost oriented sector. It's a basically benefiting sector, which is climate tech, etc. Then comes the compliance and regulation part of GHG mitigation. To meet international and national regulatory standards, including Paris Agreement following that, you need to reduce the risk of penalties and enhance the market access. There is no other way than having a GHG mitigation. Just by calculating the GHG emission doesn't help you. Actually, you calculate for a specific purpose, and the purpose is you want to reduce the carbon footprint. And the last one is the fourth quadrant, which sets the importance for GHG mitigation, is corporate reputation. Why? Because it improves company reputation if you say, I want to be carbon negative, I want to be carbon neutral, or I want to be having a net zero emission. Yeah, it is now somehow got associated with your reputation too. Now, what is the role of GHG mitigation in corporate and government policy? Now, look, I'm trying to separate two different arguments because government exists for not for profit, but corporations do exist for profit. So, how both of them develop their strategy? So, I'm setting the basics now. Be careful now. If I say GHG mitigation for corporate strategy, or I'm developing a strategy for corporate level, and you, as a learner of GHG protocol under ESG Pro Mastery Institute, you should know both. You can be challenged with both kind of assignments, discussions, and topics. That's why I'm going to give you both side of it, and that's why previous occasion, if you see and videos which we have uploaded on channel, a lot of people have gone and done for government because they feel pride in it, right? Nationalistic agenda comes there. A lot of done corporate because they know they want to implement in their own company. So if you want to develop corporate strategy, you have two ways you can do. First of all, you can do it, means you can learn it by understanding that corporates that generally incorporate GHG mitigation into their sustainability practices or ESG factor practices through having a pledge. of becoming carbon neutral, or they accept science-based targets. What are the different two strategy you can take? The two strategy which you can take, either you want to go for neutrality, carbon neutrality, and you are not committing to any framework for that, or you can go for science-based target initiative. So these are the two different line of corporate strategy you can assume. Are you with me? Any company now you will open from tomorrow and read their carbon emission mitigation action, you will try to put into these two buckets. The first bucket is that this company wants to become carbon neutral and not following science-based targets. And this company is following science-based targets and trying to achieve net zero. When you are doing net zero, generally you follow. Again, you have an option. You can still not commit to it. And a lot of Indian companies, out of 1,100 companies where I am sitting as a committee member to review their ratings, I have seen that 70% of those are not having any specific action toward their targets like net zero, etc. They are taking a lot of waste management activity, energy saving activity, which we have already learned, right? Different actions you can take. For a scope 2, you can do energy management. For a scope 1, you can do waste generation becoming zero, etc. So a lot of companies are not doing that. Okay, so it's not necessary that you can commit to science-based target, because science-based targets require a lot of effort as well and a lot of preparation. And you will see that just coming back. But you have that responsibility that you will deploy when you will do the presentation. You will use that science-based target initiative picture. And if you have any doubt, tomorrow is the time when you can come and ask. 11 o'clock. Okay, sharp 11 o'clock. That's the only window I have. I can give you 11 to 12:30 maximum. Okay, where we will solve the case, scope 1, 2, 3. And as well as if you have question on the science-based target initiative, one main diagram, which I will show it to you today, or in the case study, which we are going to handle there also, we will see that. And if you have any question that how I can build my mitigation strategy based on that, you can ask me tomorrow. Okay, that is 11 to 12:30. Then evening we have a carbon accounting, and then tomorrow we will have a test. Okay, we will finish tomorrow, day after tomorrow, all our sessions. Then here I will definitely like to bring to your attention Microsoft commitment. How many of you remember that chart where Satya Nadella was standing in one corner, one lady was on another corner, and they had a sustainability officer sitting in the middle? Yeah, they had a system where they made a commitment for 100, 0. If you remember that. What was their commitment? They want to become carbon negative. Which year? Anyone?
2030.
Perfect. Bhaskar ji, really liked it. You remember that. To 2030, Microsoft wants to become carbon negative. 2050, Microsoft wants to wipe off all their emission. जितना भी सिन किया है सब वाइप ऑफ, महाकुंभ जा रहा है माइक्रोसॉफ्ट बाय 2050. हमारे लिए एडवांटेज है 2025 में ही हमें मिल गया महाकुंभ. So he is doing that. And that is the best example that how you can pledge, create a strategy and pledges, and then slowly you reduce. And it doesn't mean you do it on day one. They have made this commitment on which year? 2020, 2021 में किया है, right? That is their base year. And 2024 में क्या position है? We have seen that. Still they are not able to reduce their scope 1 and 2 emissions. Is it correct or wrong? सुधांशु आप बताइए, किया है क्या 24 में माइक्रोसॉफ्ट ने नीचे?
No, not it.
नॉट इट.
Not it.
रीजन क्या है आप बताइए, आप तो आईटी से आते हैं. व्हाट इज द रीजन?
So, see, as per my observation, and after going through, sorry, going through these many classes, I can see the scope 3 is very difficult to analyze and calculate, and it is completely based on hypothetical. And secondly, the scenarios every 6 months for the carbon and the technology is changing, and that creates a lot of problems. Like if you see that 1 year before, we used to have very less use of AI and data, Now, suddenly the data used for the AI and enhancing the technology, placing the security system in the place, it's quite difficult or quite different nowadays. So to collect the information, collect the data, and execute that into on the ground level for the scope three is really everyone will have a bigger challenges across the globe.
I agree with you. Totally agree with you. There is no doubt about it. But trust me, you being ESG Pro Mastery Institute participant, today evening you will get a case that you will get a double confidence that scope 3 is not a far distance stuff. Just solve that case. Okay? And fill that template which I have already provided. You will be ready for market to absorb. Why I'm saying with that confidence? Because already you have learned the categories very in detail. Today you will do the calculation. You will make a mistake. If you make a mistake, tomorrow we will close that off. Okay? So don't worry on a scope 3. Scope 3 is not a distant dream. It looks like that it is very difficult. I always say statistics mein my kid was suffering. Okay, she was struggling in statistics somehow. She learns, she knows limits, integration, and she was suffering with median, mean, not even median. She came to me and asked me one question. That this is the question which I have got. That there are five different observations, and the five different observations median mean is 150. Question is, if there is a sixth observation added to it, okay, which was 156, what will be the new mean? Very simple है ना? हम लोग को आता है because we are experienced, we have seen it happening every day. She was struggling, and she is a 98% scorer in boards. Okay, so she's not a even not a very brilliant child, but not a bad child as well. I just told her one statement. आप ऐसा सोचो, 5 आदमी पहले था, एक और आदमी आ गया, वो आपको 156 करेंसी लेके आया है, आप लोग के पास 150 का करेंसी, बिकॉज प्रीवियस मीन इज 150। वो कितना एक्स्ट्रा लेके आया है? 6 लोग कितने हैं? 6 डिवाइड कर लो, दैट्स द न्यू मीन। She said, this is the mind boggling. Such a easy way to understand rather than going to that formula. Same thing I explained for the variance. हम स्क्वायर क्यों करते हैं? टू गिव अ नॉइज एक्सेलरेशन। सो आपको मालूम चले, जैसे आप हमेशा करते होंगे सुधांशु जी, तो अपने आईटी में रिग्रेशन करते हैं ना, हम लोग ड्रॉ करते हैं लाइन को। तो लाइन को जब ड्रॉ करते हैं तो लाइन क्या है? मीन का लाइन है, राइट? एंड देन
Right.
यू सी वेयर आर द डेटास एंड यू चेक द डिस्टेंस। व्हाई यू स्क्वायर इट? यू जस्ट गिव अ नॉइज एक्सुएशन। अब वो कंसेप्ट आप यहां लेके आइए। ओके, और ये समझने का कोशिश कीजिए कि स्कोप 1 2 आपका इमिशन, मान लो 2 तो ऐसे भी नहीं है, फिर भी मान लो कि आपका इमिशन है, क्योंकि डायरेक्टली रिलेटेड टू स्कोप 1 है, इसलिए स्कोप 2 आपका इमिशन है। स्कोप 3 आपका आपका सिन नहीं है। दिस इज नॉट योर सिन, बट समबडी एल्स इज डूइंग ऑन योर बिहाफ। रिस्पॉन्सिबल कौन है? आप हैं। इसलिए वो आपका स्कोप 3 है। ये जो सिन है, महाकुंभ में धोने जाना है, वो सिन हमारा नहीं है। लेकिन मैं अब ऑल आउट लगा रहा हूं तो मच्छर मर रहे हैं ना। तो वो स्कोप 3 है, किसी और ने बनाया वो मशीन, लेकिन मेरे लिए मर रहे हैं। तो वो मेरा स्कोप 3 हमको सॉल्व करना पड़ेगा। ये कंसेप्ट जिस दिन आपको क्लिक हुआ, और वो होगा केस जैसे ही आप सॉल्व करोगे आज वाला, यू विल फील दैट ओके, आई एम नॉट रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर इट, बट ओनली पोर्सन विच आई एम यूजिंग आई एम रिस्पॉन्सिबल। उसके लिए स्कोप 1 2 रहेगा, मेरे लिए स्कोप 3 रहेगा। ओनली द पोर्शन विच आई एम कंज्यूमिंग फॉर माई ऑपरेशन इनडायरेक्टली is my responsibility. That's why I need to categorize it. Okay, coming back, and we will solve that issue anyway tomorrow 11 o'clock. So my point was that this kind of major, Microsoft has put a graph, right? That graph goes like this. Same graph you will see, just search is science based target initiative graph. Sab aadmi kariye please, just do that. Okay, I will do it on your behalf as well. So if somebody doesn't have a laptop, I will do it on their behalf. Is my screen visible? It's a 2 minute digression because I have a lot to cover, so I cannot afford digression today. But let's take that digression because tomorrow Your case study requires it to understand. Science based target.
Vivek ji, a question there. Scope 3. So, as you said, that we are not responsible, right, as an organization. But what about the accountability? It is lies with us, right? So, because we are the people who created this opportunity and option for different organizations, which those who are working for us,
करेक्ट, आई एम
right?
अकाउंटेबल. लुक, अगर मेरे लिए कोई प्रोड्यूस कर रहा है ऑटो एंसिलरी, ऑटो कंपनी के लिए
Yes.
एग्जिस्ट करती है, राइट?
Mm-hmm.
इट
Yeah.
डजंट दे आर ओनली, बॉश इज नॉट ओनली सप्लाइंग टू टेस्ला, इट इज ऑल्सो सप्लाइंग टू टाटा मोटर्स.
Right.
मैं रिस्पॉन्सिबल हूँ मेरे सप्लाई के लिए.
Mm-hmm.
क्लियर
Okay.
है? तो
Yeah.
दैट इज द ओनली रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी आई हैव, कि मेरा सप्लाई इन अ वे हो कि वो इन्वायरमेंट को ज्यादा इंपैक्ट ना करे.
Mm-hmm.
मतलब क्या हुआ, मैं वेस्टेज कम से कम रखूं,
Mm-hmm.
लोडिंग उन पे ज़्यादा ना करूं, इफिशियंसी बढ़ाऊं, जो इक्विपमेंट मैं इन लोगों से मंगा रहा हूं कार्बन इंटेंसिव है, उसमें ऑप्टिमाइजेशन लाने की कोशिश करूं. That is why I was referring that case. By the way, I will go to that case and I will show you that how they are doing it, why their
Okay.
numbers have not come down and it will come down.
Mm-hmm.
उसके पहले
Okay.
एसबीटीआई. एसबीटीआई में आपको ऐसा ग्राफ हमेशा मिलेगा. राइट हैंड साइड का जो ग्राफ दिख रहा है, that is the graph you will always find. Yeah, there are different scientific models. If I will go to SBTI website, they will show you clearly that graph. ये graph है. Okay, what is this graph? That if change in global emission happens, this is the line I will still follow. ये उनका टारगेट है, यहां से स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं, 2015 से स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं. इफ change in global emission happens, means we keep it under control, this is the line I will follow, the green line. इफ आई फॉलो अ टारगेट बेस्ड इनिशिएटिव, मच कहीं जाना है मेरे को, जैसे ये कंपनी -30 पे जाना चाह रही है, देयर इमिशन, कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड का इमिशन -30% पे दे वांट टू रीच. दिस इज कॉल्ड टारगेट बेस्ड इनिशिएटिव. उन्होंने क्या किया, उन्होंने उस टारगेट को लिया बेस्ड ऑन, अब उनका टारगेट क्या है यहाँ पे, 30% रिडक्शन इन व्हाट, ग्लोबल टेम्परेचर जो है उसका वो दो लाइन ले सकते हैं, 1.5 डिग्री वाला या 2 डिग्री वाला, या वो खुद का भी लाइन ले सकते हैं, बोल सकते हैं नहीं मैं 3.5 तक जाऊंगा, ऐसा सोच सकते हैं, नो प्रॉब्लम. बट दे हैव टू शो इट. But when you say SBTI, then you cannot show any other two numbers than 1.5 degree or 2 degree. या सो मैक्सिमम 2 डिग्री है, तो उन दोनों को ही दिखाते हैं. अब आपको उसका भी एक और सिंपल एग्जांपल दिखाता हूँ एसबीटीआई के वेबसाइट पे. दिस इज डाइग्रेशन, इट इज नॉट इन आवर प्रोग्राम, सो एनीबडी हु इज लिसनिंग इट, दे कैन इग्नोर दिस पार्ट. ओके, इनके इनके पे जाएंगे तो आप देखो इनका जो कॉर्पोरेट का रिकमेंडेशन है, और ईच इंडस्ट्री के लिए है उनका रिकमेंडेशन. ओके, फॉर एग्जांपल एल्युमिनियम इंडस्ट्री का मैं ग्राफ देखना चाहूंगा. Okay, I need to find that graph for you and bring it up. How many of you have seen that graph? Means it's a very common graph which shows 1.5 degree ka line and 2 degree ka line. How many of you have seen it? If you have not seen it, I will bring it tomorrow to show you to you all. Because right now I have not searched it, so I need to do a lot of online searching, which will waste all of our times. How many of you have not seen it? Be honest, क्या फर्क पड़ता है, नहीं देखा नहीं देखा, या याद नहीं है, या मैं जो बोल रहा हूँ आप नहीं समझ पा रहे हो. दैट ऑल्सो
एसबीटीआई का नहीं देखा है.
ओके. 1.5 डिग्री 2 डिग्री का सेल्सियस का आपने देखा है रिडक्शन टारगेट?
नो आइडिया.
माइक्रोसॉफ्ट का देखते हैं. चलिए, माइक्रोसॉफ्ट सस्टेनेबिलिटी. Uh, when you try to do something online, you will never find it. Okay. Tomorrow is Sunday. 11 o'clock will be difficult. We will start at 12.
I think Unilever one you'll get it.
Sorry?
In the Unilever report, you can get it there.
Yes, Unilever definitely have it. I don't know. I am not seeing that graph. That graph is so obvious. It comes everywhere you open. Okay, Unilever देखते हैं. BRSR actually. And digression is digression. We are wasting time now. Okay. Actually, in science-based logo itself, the graph which you are seeing is that graph. As I'm trying to explain. Unfortunately, I'm not getting anywhere today. Okay, so I think we need to return back. If I will find in between, I will show you. Yeah. Okay. Oh, that also is not coming. This is rare. This photograph you are able to see, right, on the right-hand side, roadmap to carbon neutrality. I don't know why it is not showing today. Anywhere I'm going, it's failing. Okay, this one maybe. Can you imagine that? Anything which I'm clicking is not working today. See? I
It's
don't know.
unfortunate.
Huh?
It's very unfortunate.
I
This
think
is
you're
not
in hurry.
unfortunate. This is disaster. I don't know what has happened to internet today. Okay, this is the one. All these graphs are SBTI graphs, okay, which you use in goal setting. So this is the, of course, world graph. What exactly it is showing is if you follow 1.5 degrees Celsius pathway, you will go to a negative carbon emission by 21,000. Okay. This is global greenhouse gas emission assumption has been done. But we are late in that. Still, we are increasing. And if there is no climate policy, which is the condition today, there is some policy. That's why numbers are here right now. Between, we made pledges to 2.4 degree ka number aa raha hai already. So if that is the case, we will be still, will be little higher by 2100. emissions of all country will be around same level which we have today, approximately, or 10 years, 1990 numbers we will be achieving and trying to beat. So only solution for us is that we follow 2 degree Celsius pathway. This is SBTI recommended graph. Once you commit to SBTI, science-based targets, then you have to use this graph and show your effort along on this line. Now, why we were talking about Microsoft example, if you see Microsoft commitment, they have similar commitment. Okay. Where is that? This was the commitment paper, right? Individual, yeah, getting to zero waste. Okay. Investment reduction and yeah, here. Still, that is not the graph. I have shown you graph in the first day, if you remember. There were previous year numbers and then how it is growing. I think it was 2023 data. Okay, so 2024 now they have removed it. I don't know what is the purpose, but still they are showing the same thing. What they are trying to show you that still they are unable to control their emission, scope 3 emission, which is large, which again, as Sudhanshu ji has summarized, that is very difficult, vague, etc. But it has, madness has some system. And if you use that system, you will be still able to understand it and mitigate it. And that's what I'm trying to do here in these sessions. We know that scope 3 is the toughest one. It doesn't budge off. Reasons are obvious. But company like big, like Microsoft, if they will be able to do, they will set the precedence for all others. And that's what they are trying to do. However, last few years, doesn't show like that. Why? Because in FY23, the number has really jumped very high. And why it has jumped? Obvious reasons were that they have shifted everything to third party, even their own data center, etc. So, but their commitment is that they will go to level of G, which is their target carbon emission, and they will compensate it with the removal stuff. So whatever they are unable to mitigate by reducing their uses of that kind of material, they will buy off, right? They will do carbon removal or they will put CCUS unit. That is how you should set your targets, right? And you need to track that progress through different system, which is SBTI system. Now, going back to our presentation, here that is the case where Microsoft is committing for negative 2030. It doesn't mean that they will go to complete zero. It is not possible. How you go to zero? That unavoidable emissions you convert into carbon credit or you compensate it with carbon credit. Clear? That's the example. Now let's go to go and understand how governments can do. Like we saw, right? Global emission. If there is no control, it can go up to 4.5 degree temperature height. 4.7 degree temperature high, right? We saw that. Thankfully, we were searching for something, we got something, but still it's very useful. If we apply, uh, if there are people who are agreeing to Paris Convention, we can reach up to 2.4. And if we apply wholesomely net zero initiatives, we can go to even 2 degrees Celsius rise. And maybe by that way, we will be carbon negative by 2100. And if you do 1.5 in 2070, you can reach that number. So for government policy, that becomes the initiative, right? What you do here, you apply policy procedures at government level. You put regulations like carbon tax, bring carbon pricing so that people will be encouraged to sell carbon credits in market and buy it. Emission trading scheme, ETS, where buyer and seller both can come in a platform with a transparency. They can exchange the ideas and their records. which Indian government has also done recently, or you can give renewable energy mandates all across the nation, like India is doing with Suryodaya Yojana, right? They have rooftop incentive
Yes.
they have launched. Sorry?
I mean, rooftop solar energy.
Yeah, rooftop solar energy. I think there is a name for it, which Modi ji has given. So my point is, these are the steps government takes to apply GHG mitigation. And here, best example is European Union ETS along with Indian government. If you take an international concept, and they were able to really reduce carbon footprint by 30%, 35%, which we have which we see in the we have seen in the previous few sessions. And that became the corner store example that how if government determines to curtail carbon emission, they can also enforce it with different kind of emission factors. Now, what are the drivers? Let's understand why this GHG mitigation strategy are happening. These are happening, and the factor which are influencing GHG mitigation starts with policy and regulation. You have to understand that the moment government puts a stick, people start following it, and European Union did that. So government mandates an international agreement pushes towards the compliance, like people can put carbon tax, like CBAM, they are bringing in. Second, market forces. If you see, second driver is market forces itself, where increasing consumer awareness and demand for sustainable practices is pushing governments as well as corporates to bring GHG mitigation in their practice. Technological advancement is another one where innovative technology facilitates this reduction of emission across sector and segment, right? It became easier, right? Now I can buy biochar. Biochar technology, Government of India was really struggling for stubble burning case. Gaurang must be knowing, right? That how to control this stable burning. So they have brought this method of biochar where they are encouraging farmer that don't worry, I will convert into currency, give you that instead of you burn it for fertilizing purposes, right? Or the benefit you get. So instead of doing that, I will convert into something which is useful. Plus, you will also get a carbon credit. Now farmers are little bit encouraged. Okay. Otherwise, penalty is also not helping them. And anyway, government when penalizing them for something 1,000 rupees or 5,000 rupees, which was again a crime. So now Supreme Court is asking for at least minimum 1 lakh per acre or hectare they are going to put as a penalty. So these are the factor in terms of encouragement, but there are factors encourage in terms of challenges as well, which is also driving people to adopt mitigation strategy. And first of that was high initial cost. Investment in technology and infrastructure can be substantial. Okay, so that is a challenging part for deploying any kind of a strategy like SBTI. Okay, it becomes difficult for people to follow. Then, economic and political barrier is another challenge which creates a barrier towards mitigation. So, you need to be really careful when you put a strategy. Why? Because differences in policy approaches, like India government being lenient till 2023, they were not very serious about carbon credit systems. They deployed Kyoto Protocol, but it failed miserably. A lot of people with REC still exist in India. They are carrying those paper which has no value. Okay, which is a kind of credits they have received it through their actions, but that has no value. Okay, it is you cannot sell it or buy it in the market because it doesn't follow the international frameworks like article 6.2, 6.4. Then comes data and measurement. Data itself is the discouraging factor. When you don't have a right data, any strategy will fail. So accurately measuring the emission and impact is a complex and resource intensive activity, and that's why this acts as a challenge, which makes you to think more and find a way so you can do it well. Now, two case study I will quickly cover just for your reference purpose. However, we have shared a case study for you. You should read it and present it. But given the time constraint, let me cover for you. So first, these are the government initiative, how governments can bring regulations and policies so that they can control. I have already given you India example, European Union, Let's take Costa Rica emission reduction initiative. So this case study, of course, is a 3-4 page case study, highlights the fact that Costa Rica decarbonization strategy, they named it as a decarbonization because it was carbon intensive project and a strategy, has been pioneering in this field. Okay. Uh, they secured the recognition for the significant carbon emission reduction, and they have been highlighted in different forums. By 2024, last year, it enforced that their National Decarbonization Plan, NDP, they say, which they started in 2019 before Corona, which outlined a path. What was that path? Towards net zero emission. So they have taken the net zero as a target through different phases. Of course, they have not gone in one go everything. So what they did, because 2019 they implemented, so they have put a target for 2018 to 2022. This was their foundational phase. So they made sure that everybody is aware that what government is planning to bring. They understand the implication, repercussion, and they were allowed to still not follow it 100%. So there were no penalty, etc. Then they 23 to 2030, which is already going on, and that is how they got the recognition as well. In this 7 year, they have done the transitional phase. So here they are pushing people to go for transition. Do not rely on conventional energy. Do not rely on conventional measures like mining, etc. They have a lot of mines as well. So they are. This is the period for transition. So if you are in transition phase, you will not be penalized. But if you are not taking any action, here penalty comes. And the third and last phase they have kept for 19 years, where they want to make sure that everybody is following a decarbonization plan, which is listed under NDP. This strategic plan attracted substantial investment in Costa Rica. Yeah, the company, specifically the mining company, which were really not caring about what kind of emission they are making. Now they are bringing a lot of money in Costa Rica, and there is a famous case as well where Rio Tinto, if you know Rio Tinto, etc., they have faced some ire there. Okay, and this was related to social, but eventually it was a policy matter as well. So this strategic plan attracted substantial investment from even IMF has given a lot of money to them. Inter-American Government Bank given money to them, because these were the additional money than what they were receiving from different sources, right? So that they can deploy their transitional plan. Yeah. And even though they have a little fragile, if you know about Latin American countries, they have a political fragility all the time. Even though that is happening, still these two bodies are funding specifically their national decarbonization plan, and that's why it got a lot of accolades. The plant has a success. In just 2 years of transition, they were able to maintain the funds in this area, and specifically they were able to reduce agriculture emissions, right, which is very much required in India. Education is missing in agriculture here in India. If you know little bit about agriculture segment, that's a major challenge there. So forget about the real impact when the farmer doesn't know that what exactly carbon emission he's making, how even think about it, doing about it, anything. So government has pushed agriculture sector, uh, and specifically they have achieved some good targets there. Read the case study, it shows the exact numbers. There are a lot of numbers, so patiently read it whenever you get time. They have also expanded their electric vehicle use. They have pushed for that direction. India is trying to do, but there are so many technology debate which is happening at that level, that impact is not being seen. And they try to push it, specifically in two-wheeler segment. Then a lot of corruption cropped up, and people were bringing Chinese and saying that I am doing in India. And it was not happening at a small companies level. Yeah, Hero, if you know Hero motorcycles, they were doing it. Yeah, one of their fraction of Munjal's family was running a company which was totally embroiled in bringing Chinese product and selling in India, saying that it is Indian product, and getting those benefit from the government, which was given under FAME 1 and FAME 2 subsidy scheme. So government has removed that now, FAME 2. It's kind of removed it. So it's still there, but they give you 10,000 bucks, which is useless. You cannot, means EV manufacturing even for two-wheeler requires 2 lakh rupees per vehicle. Because I worked in LML, so I know the actually in the excess of it, if you are really giving good services there. And a company like Ola, who has a lot of cash to burn, they can produce it at 90,000. But you know the story about Ola, right? Uh, and this is the effective deforestation, forestation conservation. They have also implemented one more initiative called REDD plus program. So check that program, which is funded by World Bank, and that became a success story in government GHG mitigation action. So you cannot go. What was the learning there? That you cannot go one point agenda. You have to apply from different direction, but your goal has to be very clear and it has to be spread really well so people can even think about it. If you do it too concise or too short, you will fail. If you keep it too long, people will be relaxed and not take action. That's why they kept very short period for foundation phase, and then immediately they kicked off for transitional phase. India is also trying to do, but India has taken 2070, so few people are still relaxed. But now 2023, India has realized that and brought a lot of regulations to curtail that laxity in the corporate world. Now let's see that how you can do it in real time. What are those different strategies which you can deploy? So I have created three buckets in which you can put your strategies. And these are the basic principle of GHG mitigation strategy. The first principle says that you should always apply prevention and reduction rather than prevention is better than cure, right? We always say that. Instead of going that after we have polluted the world and then we are going and cleaning it, stop that thinking process. So that's the principle number one. What it says is that focus on reducing emissions at the source itself. Don't think that somebody else will do it for you or I will buy carbon credit and compensate for it. Try to kill the birds in the nest itself rather than letting it grow and destroying the cities. Yeah, specifically the dragon birds. Then second one is using cleaner energy. Yeah, push corporates and push your company to look into mechanism that you do not use dirty energy. That's the part of prevention and reduction. And third, adopt efficient processes. Very good example, putting sensors in all your energy consuming devices. That if you are not using it, immediately it should shut the operation. For example, tube lights, lights, computers. Nobody should put their computers on sleep mode. Yeah. If they are not using it, they are going home. There is a 12-hour gap. Let them shut it down. That kind of policy you need to bring. So these are the smallest stuff, which is you can develop your own based on prevention and reduction policy. So when you will develop your case, please consider all three, principles and show us that which of your mitigation strategy does follow which principle. Yeah. So two things you should be careful when you do presentation. One, try to showcase that how you have adopted those 5 steps in calculating your emission. And then you show that how you are ESG Pro 5 steps and then which all principle you are using so that you are putting a really effective mechanism to reduce GHG greenhouse gases. Second model is sustainability model. So second principle which you can deploy is sustainability principle. What it says? It says that whenever you put a strategy, you ensure that the strategy is contributing to a long-term environmental, economic, and social sustainability. It is not only talking about planet. It is not only talking about how I will increase my profit. It should talk about social part of it as well, people. So you try to broaden your mitigation effect. So I'm doing for environment, but I also look into my profitability doesn't get impacted too much. And I also make sure that I have some kind of social impact. Are you with me? This is GRI requirement, but it is also a good idea to adopt into GHG mitigation. And the last one is measurability and verification, which is the third principle which you need to adopt. What is that? Whatever can be measured should be verified and can have a mitigation action. That should be inbuilt in all of your strategy. So when you define your strategies like net zero could be your strategy. Science-based target initiative could be your strategy, but define it in a way that I am taking a science-based targets that by 2035, I will have a net zero. Okay. What I did, I put a timeline, which is 35. I put a that every year I will reduce so that today, if I am emitting 2000 ton or 20 metric ton or 121 million ton in Unilever, in 2035, I will have zero emission, right? So I will have every year a target based on that. So that is how you should do. You put a measurability and a verifiability. How you do verifiability? Of course, you have a monitoring mechanism and you have a third party assurance. Build that in. Okay. When you commit to SBTI, automatically SBTI will assure you. Are you with me? So automatically verification came in. So once I say SBTI, that's the advantage. Otherwise, I have to take a third party every year, audit specifically on this aspect. What are the core components under these three principles? So what are the components or building blocks you can use to reach this? Yeah. And it's very clear 6 steps which you can follow to reach all three of these. And you will have a robust GHG mitigation strategy, which is you start with emission baseline. The first activity you have to do is you have to set a baseline. Like we saw in the case of Microsoft just now, they have put us baseline of 2020. So they said whatever I have emitted in 2020 is my baseline. From there, I am now measuring towards net zero or carbon negative. This baseline will help you to measure the progress. Simple. So measurability came into play. Second is put a target. So target setting is a second step. So first you say, this is my baseline. Second is, this is my target. What will be your target? Your target would be net zero. Your target could be certain area. Unilever case is another good example, right? Only scope 1, 2, you can say there that I only want to reduce scope 1 and 2. I do not care about a scope 3. I report a scope 3, but I do not care about because I can't control certain activity in it. You need to be very clear when you put the target. Are you with me? Any confusion till now? Because nobody is speaking and I'm only speaking, so I'm not little comfortable. Everybody is following it. Am I going too fast, too slow?
No, we are following.
Okay. What about others?
Following.
Okay.
Very.
Aarti ji came late today. Are you okay?
Yeah, sir. I'm okay. Yeah, I'm following, sir.
Then once you have the baseline and target is done, the third building block is actionable plan development. So here you have to put bullet points that look to go towards net zero, which your target under SBTI. So you are putting a measurability. I will do following activity. For stationary combustion, these are my activity. You put that action plan. Okay, very clear. One bullet plan. In your presentation, one bullet plan I am happy with. But put that. That will reflect your capability and put into when you speak with the confidence. So when I put it on my channel, people see you as an asset that you understand this stuff really well. What is that well? That which action you think will result into your target. Are you with me? So action plan has to be very clear that I want to go net zero through different routes. Three different routes are I want to go energy saving first. So every year I want to reduce my 10% of energy. Every year I want to go for, I want to become a zero waste company. ZWD they say, ZWC. You can follow a concept called ZWC. I want to be zero waste company. Even water, a lot of people, third step could be water. You will use a lot of water, but you will do 100% recyclability. So there is no water discharge. This is called again zero discharge company. DC is another form. And a lot of company in India is doing. You will be astonished to see they have millions of tons of water being used. They are withdrawing from system, but not a single drop they are wasting it. They are recycling it. They are putting into plantation. They are putting into cleaning their own stuff, but nothing goes waste. And this, I have seen a lot of even banking companies are doing it. Okay. So that kind of action plan has to be there. That way you can reach to slowly your targets. Fourth building block is you show implementation with a monitoring. Okay. So regularly tracking progress and making necessary adjustment reflected in the report will decide whether you have this implementation done or not. That is why year-on-year reporting is important. And when you report, you also cite this was my last year emission, this is my this year emission on stationary combustion, on mobile combustion, on fugitive gases emission. Yeah, you show that pointer wise. Then it will reflect that you understand. Of course, in case study, you cannot show because I will give you only 1 year data. But if I give you 2 year data, showcase that as well, that this year my net zero has happened by 10%, and that's why these number has reduced by so much. You can assume it if you want. And the last is your reporting should be very clear and addressing to your stakeholder whom you really want to convey message to. So transparently sharing the result, which includes negative pointers as well, right, will make your report justifiable. So this is the basic principle and building blocks. What are the steps? Of course, there are clear 5 steps which is recommended. The first, it start with the emission analysis. So once you have the emission calculation done, scope 1, 2, 3, you know now where these emissions are coming from. You need to locate those hotspot in that emission. That is the analysis. You can say that, look, my major emission is coming through water wastage. Major emission is coming from there. So that is your hotspot. Now you will plan all your mitigation action around it. So that analysis is very critical. Okay. Where you have a detailed assessment of where from that fugitive gases are coming. Like yesterday we were discussing, right? It is coming from, not from fire hydrant. It is coming from fire extinguishers, which are there in the office, or your centralized AC system where it is coming. So that hotspots analysis you need to do on your inventory. Second step is set the target, which we have already learned as a building block. That's a critical step where you set the short term and long term reduction goal. You put that very clearly. What is my immediate? So I will do only 5% this year. Like in my case of Microsoft, right? They are still unable to control it. So they will say that, look, in this year, I will buy a lot of credits. This is my short term goal because my growth is not letting me stop my scope 3 emission. But next year, I am deploying another strategy where my climate tech investment of 1 billion. This point I missed it. So thank you very much. Now I am able to explain you that they are putting that 1 billion. If you remember that first session lecture, Satya Nadella has committed climate tech के लिए $1 billion. What is that $1 billion for? To help them to achieve the reduction. Means what? If any company who comes up with the idea that, look, same data processing with zero carbon emission, zero energy consumption. A best example, yesterday somebody has sent me details about Samsung launching a display, okay, which takes a battery फॉर रनिंग दैट डिस्प्ले यूनिट. सो आपके कंपनी में नोटिस बोर्ड होता है डिस्प्ले यूनिट के लिए, लोग टीवी चलाते हैं जनरली ऑन देयर रिसेप्शन एक्सेट्रा. नाउ यू कैन रिप्लेस दैट. और मैकडोनल्ड में बड़ा सा लिस्ट लगा रहता है आज का मेनू क्या है एक्सेट्रा. इट कंज्यूम्स लॉट ऑफ पावर. So this guy, Samsung has brought in compared to Chinese competitors, a battery enabled system which runs for 310 days. एक रिचार्ज में 310 days for a 75 inches screen. Just search it, Google it. Last convention they have displayed, and somebody only shared to me yesterday, so I came to know. These technologies required right now. So Microsoft will accelerate their path to neutrality. That's why you should be careful. Short term goal छोटा रखिएगा, लॉन्ग टर्म में आप रखिएगा बड़ा कि एवरी ईयर आफ्टर दिस आई विल गो 20% रिडक्शन. दिस ईयर विल बी, दिस 2-3 years will be limited because technology is not available specifically to my hotspot like AC. अब AC है, अब उसके लिए कोई टेक्नोलॉजी अभी तक आई नहीं है. इवन दो 5 स्टार आप लोगे, still it consumes a power which is excessive and more than your any other system in your house. So that kind of assumptions you need to inbuilt. Yeah. So also incorporate your science-based targets, etc. So that you showcase, if I want to go for 2 degrees Celsius, this is my emission. 3 degrees Celsius, this is my emission, or if I want to reach to 1.5 degree, this is the pathway I will follow, right? Draw that graph or just draw by your pen or pencil or on the PowerPoint which you are presenting tomorrow and showcase to us that which climate pathways you are selecting under SBTI or any method you are selecting. Third is identifying and prioritizing the action. So list the potential mitigation actions such as energy efficiency could be your target, fuel switching could be your target, carbon offsetting could be your target. Any and all are allowed. You see, carbon offsetting. Sudhanshu, you were asking, right? Can I use carbon offsetting? Yes, you can into mitigation. It is not a part of adoption. That was your question, or your question was different, if I recall correctly.
No, that was on carbon.
So it is a very much part of mitigation. And the last part is implementation and monitoring and report that whatever judgment you are doing. And this is the 5-step model for developing your mitigation plan. Here comes the another case study which I have already shared with you, which is Toyota hybrid electric vehicle strategy. I want you to read it and summarize it tomorrow if you can. Otherwise, anyway, we have a full case study which I will discuss in another 30 minutes, right? And we will discuss that, and then I will let you go. You do that, your own case study calculations, bring it tomorrow for presentation. So there are two case study which is required you to understand. One is for the government policy, specifically for their companies which is into energy generation, specifically the Germany's energy Wende company. Just give me one sec. Okay, so one case which is Germany energy Wende energy transition. This is related to government action, and another case is Toyota hybrid and electric vehicle strategy and why it is failing, and what are the different strategy they have brought in to go back to their targets, etc. Is a good example that how you should do the adjustment in your strategy. Okay, so both case studies are critical. Please read that. Let's go to the last part, which is a very critical part. It's sector specific roadmap. So each sector has its own, constraints which we need to understand, like cement industry, steel industry, right? They cannot live without emitting the carbon. We have learned that long back. So we need to be careful when we are talking about sector. Let's take 3 4 sectors just for example purposes. By the way, GHG protocol has sector specific discussions as well in detail. Now, importance of tailored roadmap here is that understanding that different sector have unique emission profile and challenges that require specialized approaches. For example, role of collaboration, engaging stakeholder across sectors for unified GHG reduction effort. Just give me one second. Okay, so for example, energy sector, which is twice it is repeated here. Just ignore that fact. Shit. Sorry. Sorry. Uh, in the energy sector, whenever you will look into their mitigation action, first of all, we will look into their current emission profile. The energy sector is one of the largest contributor to GHG emission, as we know. And just after that is transportation sector. What you need to look into is that uh, what is the reason? And the reason is most of the time that they are burning the fossil fuel. So what you can look here is transition, first of all, like India government is spending, and all across the world, people know that major investment is required for transition, specifically for this kind of carbon emitting nature of businesses. So here investing in wind, solar and hydroelectric power is critical. And China, you would be hearing that in hydroelectric, they are going crazy at the expense of Indian Brahmaputra river, etc. Right? So a lot of governments are focusing to shift their fossil fuel burning towards this. That is the first step anybody can take when they are into energy sector. Second step they can look into is improving the energy efficiency, which even corporates are doing. So here retrofitting the power plants, improving grid infrastructure, what government is doing, but we as a corporate, we can look into retrofitting our own infrastructure. And the last but not least, CCUS you have to bring, because there is no other way you can mitigate the unavoidable, unabatable, because these are unabatable industries, okay, where carbon cannot be abated. So you need to put carbon capture and storage devices, which is technology for such kind of devices for storing carbon and putting underground is required. If you look into transportation, again, you have to look into where from it is coming. So current emission profile through scope 1, 2, 3, you need to check. Here you can go for electrification of vehicle, development of sustainable fuel and urban planning. Because a lot of the time, like city like Bangalore, we are clogged because the planning is really poor. Rather than addressing that, we are putting metros, etc., which is hardly helping. And actually, it is more making our road congested. Because the development work till the time it finishes, road will remain congested, and every city has seen it. Mumbai, be it Delhi in India. Then manufacturing sector roadmap could be again looked into, which all manufacturing sector is really impacting the environment, what kind of structure it is there. Mitigation strategies, adoption of green technology using in energy efficient machinery and production lines are critical here. Circular economy is another way manufacturing industry can go for carbon neutrality. Okay, circular economy which promotes the recycling, reducing waste. Switch to low carbon fuels is another step which you can always take. Replacing fossil fuel with renewable and alternative to industrial processes is a critical argument here. Last but not least is agriculture and land use roadmaps. Current emission profile again helps you to understand that whether your farmer society knows about it. Do they know which specific ones are really carbon intensive ones, crops which are carbon intensive crops, and which kind of fertilizers they should avoid, which kind of fertilizers they can shift to, etc. And land use is a critical measure as well for city being developing at the space, and where all agricultural lands are getting converted in commercial or industrial, need to be really thought through. Mitigation strategy could be here: sustainable farming practices, livestock management, and forest preservations. Now, if you look comparative analysis of roadmaps, I have just summarized it, that what are the differences based on emission driver, mitigation challenges, technology adoption, regulatory landscape, and financial incentive, along with awareness. Awareness is also a very important factor. And compare them based on their key differences of each of the sectoral roadmaps, common challenges, shared best practices, and success factor for that industry or sector. Take a screenshot of it, read it in your free time. A lot of gyan, and if you have such kind of challenges, you can use this stuff. Now, instead of this discussion and activity, we will straight go for our case study, which I have planned to give you today, and which you need to solve out when we meet again tomorrow. 11 o'clock, we have a session already, which I have committed for our ESG analyst people session. So I need to push it to 12:30. So our session will start at 12:30. Okay. Let's start with.
Sir, I missed the actually initial discussion. This 12:30 session will be the regular session of our GHG accounting.
I will tell you. Just give me 1 minute. For sure, I will tell you. Just let me open the document and then I will explain you there. Okay, guys. So Bharti, you were asking about what did we discuss? We discussed tomorrow what we will do. I will give you a case study today. I will explain you the case study. You need to solve that case study in that template. Come tomorrow 12:30. If you are able to solve it, well and good. You give us a presentation that this is how I have approached. These are my numbers. These are my answer. If not, I will solve it for you. And irrespective of everybody will do the presentation, still I will showcase to you what is the ideal answer for such kind of reporting. Does that sound good to you now?
Okay, okay, sure.
Okay. So let's cover the case, and then also I have this pre-read material which I think you have not received it. It is related to post-read. It is now post-read for you. Read this specifically. It's a McKinsey reporting which has happened just now last year. So it's a most recent way to mitigate scope 3 challenges which somebody has today deliberated. I think Sudhanshu, you were talking about, right? That it's a major
Yes, it's me.
challenge.
Yeah.
Then this document, which is 8 page in total, yesterday I mentioned about it, will help you. Will give you
Thank
that confidence that it's not a distant dream. Everybody can apply it. They have identified the clear challenges here. They have also identified which are the method you can use in scope 3. Yeah, you are seeing this. We have already discussed about these 7 and how complex they are. They realize that after several studies. So this is one of the very good guiding document I found out, and it's a priceless document for me right now. Of course, you can put a price that McKinsey is charging lakh rupees for subscription, so you have to pay and collect it. But this I am going to give you guys. Okay, have it, look into it, read it. It will help you for day after tomorrow presentation. So tomorrow evening, of course, we will have carbon credit discussions. So I'm not going to muddle it with day after tomorrow examination, where you have to present an end-to-end case with mitigation. You have to tell me mitigation. So tomorrow 11 at 12:30, you have to do a presentation on calculation, and day after tomorrow you have to do a presentation, and both presentations are sorry, the last presentation is mandatory. Tomorrow 12:30 presentation is not mandatory. So if you don't want to come, like today a lot of people have not come, you can also avoid it. But this is the case study. Can anybody read for me quickly? I'm getting some urgent calls actually today. Bhaskar ji, can you help me here?
Yeah,
Or
yeah, sure. Sure.
please go ahead.
ESG Pro Private Limited is a small size edtech company specialized in ESG software and development and ESG consulting services. The company has made a significant strides in reducing its direct and indirect emissions, but seeks a deeper understanding and management of scope 3 emissions. We just have to see the emissions overview. Direct emissions from owned and or controlled sources. Number one, the stationary combustion. The company uses natural gas for heating purposes and for certain office activities such as cooking in a small cafeteria. The annual consumption of natural gas is about 10,000 cubic meters. Emission factor for natural gas 0.2 kg CO2 equivalent per cubic meter of gas burned. That's the first on their stationary combustion. The second one is about mobile sources, company-owned vehicles. ESG Pro owns about 5 vehicles used for business purposes, transporting its employees and supplies. The total annual consumption is about 4,000 liters of petrol. Emission factor for petrol is about 2.3 kg CO2 equivalent per liter. That's what is their mobile sources ka emission factor. And the third one is the fugitive emissions. The company utilizes refrigerants for air conditioning and cooling in the office. The total refrigerant used is about 50 kg of R134A, a commonly used refrigerant. Emission factor for R13A is about 1,430 kg CO2 equivalent per kg of refrigerant. In the case of indirect emissions, ESG Pro Office is powered entirely by electricity sourced from local grid. Annual electricity consumption is about 1 lakh kilowatt. Emission factor for electricity, it's about 0.9 kg CO2 equivalent per kilowatt. It's a grid mix. Purchase of goods and services. The total expenditure on purchase of goods and services is about 50 lakhs. Emission factor for purchased goods and services is about 0.5 kg CO2 equivalent per rupee 1 spent, which is industry average. Business travel, the total business travel mileage, flights is about 70,000 kilometers. And in the case of car travel, it's about 130,000 kilometers. The emission factors of flights is 0.2 kg CO2 equivalent per kilometer. Car travel is about 0.1 kg CO2 equivalent per kilometer. Third one is employee commuting. The total number of employees is about 100. Average two-way distance traveled by each employee daily is about 20 kilometers. The total number of working days in a year is about 250. Average emission factor for commuting, it's about 0.12 kg CO2 equivalent per kilometer. The fourth one is waste generated in operations. The total waste generated is about 1,000 tons. Emission factor for waste is 0.2 kg CO2 equivalent per ton of waste.
Okay, thank you very much, Bhaskar for
Anji.
helping me here. So you have seen the data, right? This is a most common data. Of course, emission factor will not be given to you. You will not find it anywhere. So you have to go to those documents which I have already recommended. You can use those documents. Rest of the data will be similar. Mostly you will have a similar. So it is a kind of real life example which you are solving now. Okay, so, and it is a real life example. Okay. Uh, I have segregated, means I have given you some lead here, that is scope 1 and indirect emission, but you have to identify which emission, what kind of emission, that again you have to do. I have helped you here to identify stationary, mobile and fugitive. But if you see indirect, I have not segregated. So you need to decide which one goes to a scope 2, which one goes to a scope 3. That's the task number 1 in principle. Then, of course, you have to answer these questions which are laid in a way that you can segregate a scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions and report it in the template which I have already shared with you. Anybody doesn't have a template, tell me now. Gaurang, you have a template, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Bharti ji, you have a template. You shown yesterday. Sudhanshu, do you have it? Or Bhaskar ji, you have?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So all of you have it. Just use that template, fill it, and present it tomorrow to us. That what are your findings? And if you had a trouble or you think you are not confident, you ask me, and your confidence will be boosted by 100%. Okay. So there are approximately 11 questions which you need to answer. You can do it right now. Half an hour is still there. You can do that. And tomorrow, but I want you, every one of you, to present it, which will take time. Okay. So that is why I'm keeping an additional class. This is, of course, is a voluntary if you want to come. And once you will present, then we will debate about it, discuss about it, and understand it. Make sense? Are you comfortable?
Yes, sir.
So 12:30.
Sir, sir, at last, can you just please reconfirm the timing, 11 or 12:30?
Sorry. I'm really absent-minded. Actually, I received certain calls, so now it's okay. Yes, 12:30. It's 12:30. 11 o'clock. Bhaskar ji knows we have a session for
Yes.
investing one.
Yeah.
That's for 12:30. 12:30. We will have it. I think it will run up to 2 o'clock. So let your lunch wait till 2 o'clock. And if somebody has an obligation, it's voluntary. It will be recorded. It will be shared, even though it's voluntary. Okay.
And tomorrow evening we'll have as usual class.
And 7 o'clock, same. We will have our carbon accounting session.
Vivekji, tomorrow, Shivaji, Vivekji, one small thing. Tomorrow evening, I'm flying back from Chennai to Delhi. So my flight is at about 8:40. So
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'll try and connect in my mobiles and all that. Because with 8:40, I can maybe till 8:15, I'll be able to connect and then.
Look, 1.5 hours is enough for tomorrow's session as well, because
Okay,
because I'm taking 1 day extra, right? So we will spread it. Don't worry.
fine.
Okay.
Okay,
And if there is something remaining because answer happens and that's a normal stuff, in that case, listen in the recording. It will be quite effective.
okay, all right.
But day after tomorrow, don't forget that day, because certification can be only based on that. I cannot give certification without that having that. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. You have a task to do. Please go ahead, complete it in the next 15-20 minutes. We meet tomorrow, present it.
Thank you.
Uh,
And this one
then-
definitely, this one I want you to spend half an hour. Okay, 8 pages,
okay.
very nicely organized, because this you will use for final test, but the final presentation, because mitigation you need to do there. So use this one; it will be really helpful. Yeah, tell me, Bhati, you had a question there.
Yes, sir. Actually, I was talking about the case study only. This case study, as you told us, that it is kind of a real-time example only.
Okay.
So the same thing, I am, a company approached, like we are taking care of their audits and everything. So they asked us about the BRSR also
Yeah.
reporting. But the thing is, we are facing the challenge in your principle number 6, that is your emissions. They can
Okay.
give us the data, but they don't have anything else. Like they don't have any kind of a ESG expert out there. So the thing is, if we have to do it, so the first thing is operational boundaries. So if they have branches, they will come under this whole
Branches,
setup. Sorry,
branches, right? It's
branches
of course it
or
is.
offices. I can say that.
Absolutely, it's operational
Yeah.
already.
First. Second thing is, if I can find out the annual consumptions of various their stationary combustion or mobile consumption, the
Yes.
emission factor, what should I be taking from directly from IPCC code or DEFRA, whatever you had
You
shown
should
in
take
DEFRA?
DEFRA. Which industry they are in?
They are in engineering industry.
The engineering industry, DEFRA will be more reliable for them at this point. At first,
Okay.
they are doing it, right? That's why they don't have data.
Yes. First time. Yes.
You
Yes.
start with little relaxed one. If you will go straight to the right one, then next
Uh-huh.
year they will have a trouble to even follow it. Are you with me?
Okay.
So
Yes.
follow
Yes. Yeah.
that. This is my advice. I always advise like that. Let it be little higher. Okay.
Okay.
And,
Uh-huh.
and this is engineering company, means there are not a lot of emission, correct? It's only
Yes, sir.
electricity,
Yes.
and
Exactly.
so know that. That's why I ask you emission, and lay
Yeah.
out the way that it shows them an impact. And then mitigation when you will put, it will help them.
हाँ.
ठीक है?
Okay.
और
So
उसमें
the
mitigation ये भी डाल सकते हैं. Next year we will have a industry specific data for you. Okay, you will have
yes.
enough time as well, so you can design that data for them. चाहिए
Uh-huh.
तो फिर भी हम लोग उनको enable करा के दिलवा सकते हैं. And they will see the
Sure.
value for it once they will see the numbers. So go for different.
Yeah. Okay. So DEFRA will be the suitable
Absolutely.
database.
At this
Okay.
point in time, एनर्जी वाला
Okay.
तो फिर भी आपको सीईसी से ही लेना होगा, but rest
Okay.
you can take from there, like servers,
DEFRA.
yeah, all that you can take from DEFRA.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
No worries, anytime. Okay, guys, take care. Wish you. Uh, Let me send you this right away, otherwise I will forget both the files. Yeah, Sandeep.
Vivekji,
Yes.
I need one little bit guidance from you. So I belongs to a place where most of the forest area are there. And here,
From Odisha, right? Or
yes, is border of Chhattisgarh,
Chhattisgarh.
Odisha. Yeah. And recently, Chhattisgarh, in the border of Odisha, came with uh, one NMDC came with a steel plant and a power plant. And
Okay.
then nearby, there are thousands acres of your paddy lands are there.
Okay.
Okay. And little bit further, you have complete jungles and forest everywhere.
Okay.
Even my own family member, they have around 800 bigger trees, those who are there wanted to cut. But I am telling
देखो
them to
हम्म,
don't cut those, but rather you try to get the carbon credit. I'm just trying to convince them. And similarly, there are a lot many plantation around and farming lands around
very
that.
good idea.
And we have also NALCO, HL, and some other industries,
उनके
not
लिए
so big
सिक्वेस्टेरियन
industry.
हो जाएगा उनके लिए इसको
Sir?
उनको उनके लिए फॉरेस्ट
Huh.
डिफॉरेस्टेशन सिक्वेस्टेरियन में वो लोग काउंट करा सकते हैं
Okay.
या दे
So,
नीड इट नालको तो नीड इट आई नो फॉर श्योर
yes. So, I need your little guidance and help. Whatever mode you show me, I can
ऐसा
approach
बनाते हैं
and
ना साथ में मिलके सुधांशु जी
yes, definitely. No. First, you guide me how to what to do. I
ठीक है
can assure you there are many opportunities because these are all forest area.
आप
And
800 बीघा दे दो मैं आपको फिक्स पेमेंट करता हूँ अप टू दैट लेवल आई कैन वर्क बट लेट्स वर्क इट टुगेदर कि दोनों को
there are
आपको
very less.
transparency है नो 100% आई विल लव सच काइंड ऑफ प्रोजेक्ट
Yes, because I want to learn it. And when I see these lands are damaged or people are,
इट्स पेनफुल इजंट इट
oh, no, what it happens? Suppose I have 10 acres of land and that slowly I want to sell it out to for the purpose of uh, real estate or any other, don't do anything. So that makes me think about it how I can support to the society. People should not cut the tree. One side you are discussing not to do cut the tree, other side it is. So there are many opportunities. So we just need to find out in the right way and approach these organizations and to approach people and leaders. Leaders also we have connections, everything. So, but I need your guidance on that. That's why I wanted to ask you.
नहीं कल नहीं कल तो नहीं हो पाएगा
You just give me some time.
yeah we will schedule a 1 hour. I will sit with you
Okay.
and tell you that how it works. And if
Yes.
required, we will prepare a proposal. ये तो मेरे लिए
Yes.
मतलब it will be like we can start a business immediately. If it requires investment, I'm happy to do.
Okay. Okay.
सर
Let's see
इज
how.
इट जो
Yeah,
सर ने अभी बताया
हाँ
हाइड्रोपोनिक्स फार्म के लिए भी सेम है
सिमिलर है हाइड्रोपोनिक्स में एडवांटेज क्या रहता है ना कि उसमें फर्टिलाइजर मतलब फर्टिलाइजर आप दूसरे तरह का डालते हो जो हाइड्रोपोनिक्स से रिलेटेड होता है एंड सेकेंडली इसमें वाटर का कंजम्पशन बहुत कम हो जाता है सॉयल डजंट गेट डिस्टर्ब्ड राइट so only but still you need energy there so you need to be very careful when you design those hydroponic plants
एक्चुअली सर आई हैव सम क्लाइंट्स आई मीन हु आर डूइंग हाइड्रोपोनिक्स
okay
सो मे बी जैसे आप सर को गाइड करेंगे आप यू कैन गाइड मी एंड आई थिंक आई कैन आल्सो